Welcome to Tinker Tailor Gamer Scribe. This is another slash technically a first weirdness of TTGS Showcase. Previously, it existed in a different version of it. Those videos are available if anybody wants to watch them. But I decided to change up the format because before it was very creator driven, and I wanted to open it up. So that will make itself evident as I do more of these. But for now, I have got Savannah and Keith Shearer. I got that right?
Yep.
Excellent. And I'm going to talk to them. So I'm just going to head this right out the gate. So the two of you are working on a project together. Can you tell us about it?
So it's a project that she actually came up with the idea for. We were playing a platformer game, and she was like, wouldn't it be cool if this was better? Because it was an awful game.
Okay.
I mean, truly terrible, as in one of us fell through the floor at the beginning of the level and spent the entire level dead.
Yeah,
That
no,
bad.
that rates is terrible.
Yeah, it was unplayable, and she was like, wouldn't it be cool if this was better? And I said, well, it's a pretty basic game. It wouldn't be that hard to make.
Okay.
Just a bit of development and then a whole bunch of artwork.
Okay.
And she's like, well, why haven't you made it yet? Don't have the artwork. She's an artist.
Okay, and actually
So
that leads into part two pretty good. So what do you guys each do for this game you're making?
Art.
Okay.
yeah, she does art. She does the overall story design, uh, the overall interface design, and I just do the underlying system.
Okay. So
Software.
what does a software developer do? And do you have any examples of this?
A software developer takes an idea and then creates a design to match that idea to something a computer can do. After that, the design is programmed into the computer step by step so that the computer understands what to do and turned into a full system. The system being interface, under file system, architecture, combine it all together, link it all up, and then run as you go.
Okay. So do you have any examples?
I do.
Okay.
There's a game called Science Defense, which was one of my first games I ever built. It right the tutorials are most of what I have, but they're available and there are five of them. Each one is basically just a series of targets that run by, and you place small turrets on the map to shoot at the targets. I experimented around with putting energy sources to power up the turrets, putting different styles of artwork in there, different styles of enemies in there, and then moved on to bigger, grander things.
Sweet.
Other things I moved on to included a map maker to help my D&D friends design maps. My son actually uses this in his free time to just kind of play around with and be just randomly creative.
Make
Cool.
his own D&D maps.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and when we were playing around with it for that few seconds earlier today, it was really cool because anybody that's basically on that web page can manipulate the map and make changes and things like that, which I thought was really, really cool. So,
That was also my first foray into collaborative development, as in developing a tool to help people work together online to develop something as a team.
right on. Right on. So,
Since then, I've developed a theater mode so that we can all watch videos together. I'll invite you to a video later so that you can check that out.
okay.
And a game that incorporates 3D aspects into it.
Sweet. So, no, that sounds awesome. And don't worry, watchers at home, I will put up. You will by now have seen clips of all this stuff. So, Savannah, you are the artist on this project. What kinds of art do you do?
Cartoony stuff mostly.
Okay.
Um, Animals. Like the chibis in space is gonna be a lot of like animal chibis, chibi animals, and so they'll be rolling around in their little ball, like the Marabou. Um, yeah, it's gonna be very colorful.
Cool.
Very
So,
colorful.
so what about outside of the game? What do you tend to focus on as an artist?
The same thing.
Oh, okay. Like so,
Yeah.
mostly cartoony pets, animals, kind of thing.
Yes,
Okay.
cartoony things. And like I get commissioned for people's pets that have passed away usually, and so they're not really as cartoony, but they're still somewhat cartoony.
Okay.
Um, it's got the bright colors and everything.
Yeah, I'll put up one of the videos, uh, or a piece of the video of you making one of those actually right here. So, so cool. So, question for both of you, I guess: what kinds of work goes into a project like Space Chibis?
A lot of it. Right now she's just doing concept art and coming up with ideas for it. I'm busy building an underlying architecture so that she can use that concept art and see how it interacts together on the screen.
But
Okay.
once he gets something working enough for me to like input, um, well, my art, then we'll be able to see how it's working and moving.
But both of us still have kind of the same challenge in a big way, in that we're both building a piece, and we're building a piece of a puzzle, but the rest of the puzzle is blacked out to us and we can't see it. So we're trying to build it to fit with something that we can't see.
Sure. So you got kind of a fog of war kind of thing going on.
Right.
Right on. Okay.
As we
Okay.
play old RTSs.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
a
because
little bit.
it's hard to come up with a story and how the characters are gonna move and what they're gonna look like if I don't know, well, his side of it.
Hmm.
And
If she can't see the tools she has to play with.
Sure. So there's like a lot of
I'm building the tools.
yeah. So there's a lot of going back and forth. Like you can get so much done, and then it moves over to you, and kind of so like all of the pieces keep fitting together as things progress. Basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been waiting on him for a while now.
I'm building a pretty big piece right now, so it's taking a while, and I don't get a whole lot of time each day to work on it either.
Sure. So yeah. No. Life has a magical way of getting in the way of, especially not what you're not doing for a living. So I understand completely. So can you talk a little bit about like what this game is going to be like, what kind of game it's going to be, um, what it will be available on when it's done? It's okay if that's a no answer, but
Well, it's probably definitely gonna be like a platform side scroller kind of game, dungeony in space. We can
As
have dungeons in space.
Yeah, you
sure,
can totally have dungeons in
absolutely,
space. Go
derelicts
on a
and
space
deserted
station,
moons, and yeah,
break through the airlock, explore the surface, explore underground,
Mm-hmm.
find that strange obelisk. Totally.
sweet.
The As for what it's going to be released on and where it's going to be available, I have Linux and Windows to play with, and so I can make it compatible with both of those. And I plan to distribute it on Steam.
Sweet. Sweet. Well, I will definitely be looking forward to it. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to move on to the actual, like, the real reason I do these interviews, and that is to inspire creativity and expression. So I've got some questions that I want to ask that are more focused on that end of things. I call them the core four. These are the different core four than the previous format. Like I said, I've changed that up a little bit. But But yeah, so these will be 4 questions that I'll ask everybody from here on. You guys are the first to get this set of the core 4. So, but yeah, so everybody I interview from here on will get basically these same questions. So, I'll just start with the first one. How did you figure out that software development and art were something that you wanted to do?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I've always been interested in robots since I was a little kid. My dad actually got me a robotic arm that was just 2 little joysticks that controlled an arm for my birthday, or either that or for Christmas as a little kid. But I always wanted it to be autonomous, and I wanted to develop the brain aspect of it since I was a little kid.
Nice. Okay.
And since then, it's just kind of grown, and now it's a calling. I can't stop doing it.
Nice. Very nice. How about you, Savannah?
That's actually pretty good. Well, I mean, I've held a pencil, or I've drawn since I could hold a pencil. When I was probably 4 or 5 years old, my brother said that he was a better artist than me, and he's 2 years older than I am. So, I'm like, well, that's because you're older. And, well, that turns out, who's the artist? He's, you know, sitting there having his normal job. But, oh, shoot.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
No, you guys are fine.
But no, he dared me to, or well, we had a contest when I was about 4 or 5 to draw Simba from The Lion King, because that was the movie back when I was a kid, and
Okay.
I just took my pencil and I drew almost a perfect Simba with his big mane and everything, and he was so impressed. And so I've taken art classes through school. It's just what I do.
Cool.
Me.
All right. So, um, next question to both of you. What inspires you?
People.
Okay.
Animals. Yes. Well, for the art that I do now anyway, it's just the connection people have with their animals and their pets. And it's a yeah, it's nice.
Sweet.
Make them feel happy with my art. What?
I like that.
All right. How about you, Keith?
For me, it's stories. People telling stories, people talking about things, and in particular, science fiction stories. I grew up on stories like Isaac Asimov's I, Robot series, a series of short stories about things like cars with brains and teleporters with brains
Mm-hmm.
that try to do things. And every time I read a story or watch a story, like a movie, or play a game and it has a powerful AI character in it, it reminds me of my passion once again. And I think, man, I need to program some more. And maybe one day I'll get closer to my goal, to my ultimate goal of making
Fantastic.
something that can think like that.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. All right.
Anime gets me going.
Oh yeah, there's a lot
Anime.
of robots in anime that gets me going too.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
I go watch
We
some
share
anime.
that.
Watch some anime and be like, I need to go draw right now.
Right on. Okay. So, what kinds of problems do you deal with doing what you do? Like, what stands in your way?
Real jobs.
Good answer.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I can't actually afford to make the. I can't actually afford the servos and the mechanical pieces to make physical robots, and so any robots I make have to be virtual. Not that making them physical would make them any easier, it'd just make them cooler.
Sure.
The other aspect is it really is very difficult, and when there's nothing in particular you're building it for, we call this a general AI. It's an AI without a dedicated purpose. Then how do you build it? Because software, you normally build it with a goal in mind. This is trying to build something to accomplish a non-goal.
Hmm. Or an unspecified goal, which is
Yeah.
it's hard to put that in absolute terms. I could see that. I could see that for sure. So,
When I was in high school, I wrote a 20-page paper about what is artificial intelligence, just trying to address that vague goal of trying to make an artificial thing that's intelligent.
mhm.
When you think about individual pieces though, and not actually like my job being in the way, the hard part about what I do is trying to find out how to please somebody that's commissioned me without them giving any detail on what they want.
Mhm.
Because usually it's pretty vague, like, hey, can you draw my dog? It passed away. Here's the type of dog it is. Here's a picture. You be creative. And it's like, okay, well, how do I know if my creativity is good enough to please you? You know, so
Sure.
that's really hard coming up with the ideas.
Yeah, I can see
I
that for
get some
sure.
of that doing what I do too, because people are like, okay, well, what can it do then? And I say, anything you can visualize happening on the screen, I can make it happen. And they're like, okay, but specifically, like, what can it do? What can you make happen?
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure.
I mean,
Um, oh, sorry. Go.
Savannah, the thing about developing for chibis in space, developing artwork to and levels to work with it, she, I mean, she knows me. She's seen a lot of the things that I can do, and it's still hard to conceptualize just the wide variety of things that are possible to put on the screen.
Hmm. Absolutely. All right. One last question. And honestly, I think this is probably the most important one given the scope of what I do. Um, and that is, do you have any advice to give to someone who is thinking about doing what you do, or they're just getting started? But more specifically, like if they're looking at it as an option, like what's some good, square one advice for that person?
Never give up. It's always good advice. I mean,
I fully agree.
yes. Things will get hard, and you'll have blocks. Even in software, you get blocks, but just take a break and get back to it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say a big thing you need to learn first is time management. Yes, it's possible to make your picture look perfect. Yes, it's possible to make a program that does everything that you could possibly want it to do without ever having a bug. Do you have time to build those, though? The answer is usually no, because, you know, Leonardo da Vinci said a painting is never finished, only abandoned. You have to, at some point, realize you're not going to get everything perfect. Get it good, get it great, get it amazing if you want.
Hmm.
But perfection is not what you're going for. You're going for great.
Yeah. See, I call that, you're not going for perfection. You're going for perfunction. That's kind of like my version of that kind of a thing is, yeah, because perfect, the idea behind perfect is that it isn't attainable. So the idea is to temper yourself and get it to where it does what you need it to do without nitpicking it into never being done. Or
And I tend to focus on the hard parts of a program first, without getting the big parts finished. So a hard little part, I tend to narrow in on that and ignore this big, easy part that I could have done in seconds.
Sure. Okay. That makes perfect sense.
And like, there's going to be people out there that don't think, you're good and that it's good.
And there's going to be people who have no idea what you do.
Yeah, but don't let it bother you.
Yeah, no, my advice for people that are making anything is that if you're not making it for you, you're not making it for the right person. It's not about what other people think of it. It's about the fact that you've done it. And that's always been like my advice. I mean, like if you watch TTGS videos, like any opportunity I have to say that, like this one, I do because it's important that it's what your thought is, your impressions are what's most important about your creations, I think. So anyway, yeah, no, that's awesome. Anyway, so that is all I've got question wise. I think given the amount of time we've been going here, we are right on track for a great video. So
Cheesy.
What?
I said he has a cheesy smile.
That's my
So,
style. Cheesy.
So I want to thank you guys for doing this interview with me. I appreciate it. And we've been, this has been a back burner thing for quite a while now, and I'm just glad that we actually got to make it happen. So,
No, it's been like 6 months since you first asked.
Yeah, give or take. But that whole life getting in the way thing. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, yeah, no, appreciate it so much. Thank you, and I think we'll call it a wrap there. So, yeah, until the next one.